Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Now we can start the webinar.
Okay, Abhi. Thank you.
So our
good morning,
good morning, Mr. Aaron, and good afternoon to all our participants. Welcome from Sri Lanka Export Development Board. I am Anuma Prematilaka, Director Market Development EBB. I will act as the moderator for this webinar. Webinar today is EU VAT Reforms, organized jointly by Sri Lanka Export Development Board and United Parcel Service, UPS. As you all know, European Union is our second largest export market after Brexit. So European Union is a very important export destination for Sri Lankan exports. Any changes in the regulatory systems in the EU has some effect on Sri Lanka's exports. So the European Union has introduced reforms to their trade regulations time to time. Accordingly, from the 1st of July this year, the European Commission has introduced a number of changes to their VAT payment systems, especially for online payment. So today we are going to discuss about these changes and how it affect our exports, especially the online sales. The objective of this webinar is to create awareness on the EU VAT reforms among the Sri Lankan entrepreneurs who engage in e-commerce business and educate them on how to prepare their businesses for this new system. So today's webinar will be mainly in two parts. First, our resource person will do a PowerPoint presentation. Then we can go for Q&A session. To get answers for any clarifications from our resource person, you can type in your questions at the Q&A option available at the bottom of the screen and send your questions to our resource person. After his presentation, he will give his clarifications or the answers for your questions, depending on the time available. This is a 1 hour session, so we are hopeful to finish this session by 3 p.m. from Sri Lanka time. So now I have pleasure in introducing our resource person, Mr. Walter van der Meren, Director, Custom Brokerage, UPS Europe. So besides his membership of the European Express Association and Customs Task Force of Business Europe, he serves as the chairman of the Customs and Trade Facilitation Committee at AmCham EU, and he is vice chair of its Brexit Task Force. At the European Express Association, he chairs the Trade Facilitation Committee. Mr. Walter represents the trade at the European Commission Directorate General of Taxation and Custom Union's Trade Content Group, and is also a well-respected subject matter expert in different customs working groups from the European Commission. So with that introduction, I request Mr. Walter to take the floor for his presentation. Over to you, Mr. Walter.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Prematilaka. It's a great pleasure and an honor to be here today. And let me first try to put up the presentation so that we can start really from the beginning. I hope you see it now.
Yes, it is working. Give us right. Now it is there. Maybe you can put a full slideshow.
Yeah. Do you see the full slideshow now?
Yes. Now it's okay. You can go ahead.
Thank you very much, and welcome. Good afternoon. So we want to go through the following agenda. We want to talk about the EU. What is the EU? Some basic concept. Value-added tax, and we want to cover recent changes as from the 1st of July, which do not only affect EU companies, but also shippers that ship to the EU. And basically, from the 1st of July onwards, we have introduced the import one-stop shop scheme, which is something very new to EU legislation. And there's also a very big new innovation related to online marketplace. They play now a role into the settlement of the VAT as the deemed supplier. As with all legislations, there's exclusions and exceptions. So that's very important to know. Very handful tools, 5 things that you need to know about EU exports and VAT. Afterwards, if there's questions, I'll be glad to answer them. So let's start with the EU, the VAT, and the recent changes. And can you just confirm that you see the slides changing?
What now we can see is definitions. What is European Union?
That is very good. So we're on the right track. So let's start with the first topic, which changes came into effect on the 1st of July. And for that, first we have to understand some basic terms, like what is the European Union? What is the UK? I mean, you all heard about the withdrawal of the UK to the EU. So now the European Union consists of the 27 countries that are listed here and that you see on the map. You have Great Britain, which is Scotland, England, and Wales, and the UK consists of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. These are quite important elements that you need to understand when you ship to the EU or to the UK or to Northern Ireland. So we'll come to that later into the presentation. What is very important to know is how does the EU work? It's important to understand that the EU is a single market and there's a customs union, and that means that there's free movement of goods. Now, does that mean that everything is the same in every country? No, specifically to VAT, there are specific rules. In that sense that each EU member state sets their own country-specific VAT rules, while of course they respect the EU-wide VAT regulation. And so it comes that in Luxembourg, you pay 17% of VAT. In Germany, for instance, 19%. And you see on this map that the rates are separate depending on the country. The highest VAT rates you see in Hungary, Sweden, and Denmark, and an average VAT rate of the European countries covered is 21.3%. As I said, we will share this presentation, so you can. We have a hyperlink here, and there you find more official EU documents on the specific VAT regulations and rates within the countries. So what happened on the July 1st of 2021? And what do you need to know when you send goods to the EU now? Well, on the July 1st, the EU changed its rules for importing. Importing into the EU for shipments of which the value does not exceed an intrinsic value of 150 euro is now completely different. There's a new value-added tax scheme for e-commerce import shipments, and there are new customs rules. VAT is now payable on all import shipments independent of the value. Before, there was a so-called de minimis threshold, which allowed for shipments of which the value did not exceed an intrinsic value of 22 euro to be free from VAT. From July 1st, these shipments are also now subject to the VAT of the final member state of destination, and the de minimis waiver for VAT does no longer exist. There are-
Mr. Walter,
Yes.
sorry to disturb you. Actually, I'm sorry you are not in the full presentation mode. We can see your note sections also. Maybe you have to change for the full presentation mode again.
Okay.
Try it.
Yeah, just a second. I have different screens here. Is this better now? Or am I in full presentation mode?
Not yet.
Okay. Just a second.
Mr. Walter, could you, end the slideshow?
Yeah.
Then, yeah, just end the slideshow.
Yeah.
No, still ending it.
I'm ending the slideshow.
Now, in the there's a tab called slideshow tab in the top ribbon.
The top ribbon. Okay. So, do I also have to stop video? No.
Sorry.
No. I'm sorry about this.
Yeah, there's an option. There's a tab called slideshow in the top. Can you see it? Now home, insert, design. Yeah. Here, uncheck the box. Use presenter view for your from your right side. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, now go for the presentation mode.
Did this work? Am I now in full screen or still in shared?
No, now go for the presentation. Now go for the presentation mode.
Yeah.
Now you can start the slideshow. Now let's see.
Okay, just a second. Just a second. I'm going to try to do this.
Why do you
Yeah.
Yes.
What I would like to do is stop sharing.
Yeah.
Maybe that will work.
Share. Now you can start the presentation.
Lahirud, he has to go for the full screen mode, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wait,
Now
Show the button.
yeah.
Yeah, now it's okay.
Now this is
It's okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Thank you for correcting the code. Otherwise, it is disturbing.
Yeah.
Right. You can go forward.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think I still have some technical issues now.
Yeah, I think your sharing stopped, I think.
Yeah. Am I okay again?
Okay, now so again in the normal mode, you have to go to the presentation mode.
Okay.
Yeah. Just press F5.
Yeah.
Or in the slideshow, you can, yeah, from current slide. Yeah, now it's fine. Now go ahead.
Okay, okay. I'm sorry for the technical disturbance. So we were saying that there's new processes when importing to the EU. We were on the team of the import one-stop shop. And that is very important because, are we good now?
No, Mr. Walter, you have Lahiru. Can you guide Mr. Walter to have?
I think again you have jumped from the presentation mode.
Okay. So I don't know then if I can just continue the presentation based on this. Can you see the slide? If I
You can see the slide, but it's not on the presentation mode.
Yeah. Well, if I do it this way,
Yeah,
now
that's okay.
Oh, it's
that,
okay.
that will work.
Okay. No problem.
Okay.
No.
Also, okay, so basically that ISSS system is new, and there's also a new method, and that's the special arrangement. So if you are a foreign supplier, you can go for an import one-stop shop registration. If you do so, you will need to apply VAT on your invoice to your buyer and process the VAT for all EU imports of the previous months electronically to the tax administration of the member state where you register for ISSS. So this comes with a lot of benefits that we will discuss afterwards. Shipments can also be processed either through that ISSS system or under a special arrangement. And that special arrangement is a new customs process that can be used for all goods that do not exceed an intrinsic value of 150 euro and that are not subject to ISSS. Only ISSS shipments can be customs cleared at the first point of entry into the EU, and shipments subject to the special arrangement must be customs cleared in the final member state of destination. And the last innovation, I already referred to that, is the introduction of the marketplace as deemed supplier, where a platform can assist in the collection of VAT. You see, there are many new rules, which I will explain in detail later, but as these changes are affecting you, they are affecting customs administrations and UPS, we are very happy that you found the time to join this webinar. We're looking forward also to questions later on. So what do these change rules mean for your business? First off, you need to assess if there's any impact by responding to questions like, what is the value of the goods you sell? Do you sell to businesses or do you sell to consumers? Do you use online marketplaces? And you also need to be aware that no matter what happens, all business importing into the EU have to pay VAT. All imports will require an electronic customs declaration, and you need to consider the impact of this on your sales price and the margins of your products. So, how do you play it smart? How do you make the best decision for your business and for your customers? Well, you have two options, and we will show you which one may be the preferred one for you, depending on your setup. Option one is charge your customers VAT on the sales invoice and process all VAT amounts for your imports processed during the previous months to one EU member state. That is probably your preferred way by registering in the import one-stop shop, the ISSS. So things will become easy for you and transparent for your customer. There is an alternative, option 2, and that is through UPS declaring your VAT at the point of import and then have it charged by you. In this case, you can choose the free domicile option. There are a couple of disadvantages to this option. It is less transparent, it is decentralized, and it is less customer friendly. Later on, we will show you in more detail why ISS is simply the better option. So what do you need to know when you send goods up to 150 euro to the EU? Up to now, we have learned that when you send goods with a value not exceeding 150 euro to the EU, you pay VAT on all shipments, and you know that there's different clearance methods for shipments not exceeding 150 euro. Clearance methods that will have different payment and other consequences. There's the option to use ISS for B2C shipments, where you as a supplier will pay the VAT. And the alternative option is to use the special arrangement for non-ISS shipments, where the importer pays the VAT. If you do not have that ISS registration, the requirement is to clear goods in the final member state where the importer pays the VAT. Let's go into more detail on the import one-stop shop scheme. The import one-stop shop has a lot of benefits. And I know I'm making kind of a publicity for this, but the reality is when you have B2C shipments, it is a must, in my opinion, because you can have one single registration for the 27 EU member states in a language that you can choose. Your end consumer will be aware of all government charges. No surprises here. You can do all your EU VAT reporting centrally. You pay your VAT monthly, which gives you a cash flow advantage. If you provide complete and correct data, you reduce the risk of transit time delays. Your customer will have no surprises. There will be no hidden costs. As such, you reduce the risk of shipment refusal, and the whole scheme translates into a better experience for your end customer by providing transparent pricing for shipments into the EU. So you can register by yourself for the ISS. If you are a non-EU resident, you will need to do this through an intermediary. And in an EU member state, you will need to apply for the ISS in the country where you established. If you are a non-EU country resident, you will require to appoint that VAT intermediary. At the right side of this slide, you will find all the links to the registration websites of the member states, and we will share this presentation, as I said, after the webinar, so please have a look at the different hyperlinks. So let's talk about that intermediary. Taxable persons, suppliers, and electronic interfaces who are not established in the EU need to appoint an intermediary to be able to use that import scheme. Other taxable persons, the ones established in the EU, are free to appoint an intermediary, but are not obliged to do so. The intermediary needs to be a taxable person established in the EU. He has to fulfill all the obligations laid down in the import scheme for the supplier or electronic interface that appointed him, including the submission of ISS VAT returns and payment of VAT on the distant sales of imported low-value goods. However, the supplier or the deemed supplier who appointed an intermediary remains liable for the VAT obligations, including the payment of VAT together with the intermediary. In practice, member states will attempt to recover the VAT from the intermediary, and if this attempt fails, member states can try to recover VAT from the supplier. It must be pointed out that the intermediary is not necessarily the person that lodges the customs declaration for release in free circulation. So how does it work? How do you register with an intermediary for ISS? If you're a non-EU company not registered in the EU, you will need to appoint that intermediary. So our advice, please contact your UPS account executive who will direct you to a trusted UPS partner. An intermediary will ask you to complete a form allowing you to represent him. The example on this screen refers to the notification as it is applied in Ireland. This notification will be different depending on the country where your intermediary is located. So, how does this work in practice when you ship with UPS? Once you have your ISSS number, you can either complete a form with your ISSS number, email it to UPS, and upon emailing it to us, it will allow us to record your ISSS number and sync it so that it appears automatically when you make an applicable shipment. You can also save your ISSS number in your ups.com profile, or you can enter your ISSS number whenever you create a shipment. Our third topic, and this is quite an innovation, are the online marketplaces as the deemed supplier. For e-commerce business selling goods to EU consumers through online marketplaces, there is a new scheme. Online marketplaces will for VAT purposes be the deemed supplier of goods sold through their platform in certain cases. That means that they will be responsible for determining the intrinsic value of the goods sold on their platform. And if it's within the famous €150 threshold, the VAT rate of the destination country will be charged to the consumer at the point of sale. They will also declare the VAT to the EU for their ISSS registration and keep necessary records. If the marketplace that you sell through is collecting VAT at the point of sale, then you need to make sure that the marketplace's ISSS registration number is included in the relevant shipping documentation. As a non-EU-based business, you will have to record this as a zero-rated supply to online marketplaces and report this as such in your VAT return. To ensure effective and efficient collection of VAT, while at the same time reducing the administrative burden for suppliers, tax administrations, and consumers, this VAT directive has introduced that deemed supplier provisions. So we start at the left side of this slide, where a marketplace will facilitate the sales of goods. If goods are dispatched from a third country to the EU, we go to the bottom in the middle of our slide, where the goods are being dispatched that are equal or less than €150, and the marketplace is the deemed supplier. You only have to provide that ISSS number, and the marketplace will take care of processing the VAT in the right way. As I already alluded to, every legislation comes with exclusions and exceptions. And goods excluded from ISSS in special arrangements are gifts, stamps, excise goods, and goods that are prohibited or restricted. First, we also need to touch on some geographical exceptions, because there are different interpretations as far as Northern Ireland is concerned and France. That's the beauty of the European Union. There's one legislation, but sometimes country diverse. Northern Ireland, of course, this is a very specific case because it is not part of the European Union. However, due to the withdrawal agreement and the Northern Ireland Protocol that has been concluded between the EU and the UK, some of the EU rules still apply to Northern Ireland. So in this case, Northern Ireland needs to adhere to the rules of the EU VAT Reform. These changes apply to all goods imported into the EU and Northern Ireland in the same way. excise goods, control goods, prohibition and restriction goods are, of course, like in the EU, excluded, but there will be the same EU rules in respect of online marketplaces and the same rules as far as the abolishment of the low-value consignment relief, the famous de minimis VAT, is concerned. For Northern Ireland, there is an opt-in online ISS, import one-stop shop possibility with monthly VAT reporting as a payment system for e-commerce. So a business not established in EU or Northern Ireland wishing to register for ISS can do that in every EU member state. Business in Great Britain with consignments not exceeding 135 British pounds to consumers in the EU, they also can register for ISS. Sales made through an online marketplace that's not registered for ISS can be accounted for by an appointed EU-established intermediary to represent and to account for VAT through ISS. Alternative, where an intermediary is not appointed, ISS not used, import VAT will be due on importation in Northern Ireland as it is in the rest of the EU. And for France, France is also very specific because with differing from the rules, VAT registration in France is required for e-commerce imports to cover the VAT liability. This applies to all goods import, regardless of their value, even if ISS EU is used, and therefore French customs will check if the transaction concerns an e-commerce platform, like an online marketplace or sale intermediation. And they will also check if a VAT registration number is included with the shipping documentation. So let me try to summarize what we saw and provide you with some handy tools and tips. So I have 5 basic practical tips, basically for small, medium-sized customers, but I think they are of relevance for everybody. If I own a small business or if I was in charge of logistics for one, so what would I actually want to know about the EU VAT changes? And there's an endless amount of great information in there, but I now want to focus on the bottom line and what do I need to do? So there's 5 things that I'll try to share and make things as easy as possible for you. So it's basically back to basics. The EU VAT on one page. Consideration for gifts. There's so many questions about gifts. It's very specific. Goods descriptions are very common, low-hanging fruit. If you will issue that, it's easily resolved. There's resources, a lot of online resources that you can check. And there's our EU VAT checklist, which we'll come to in the end, which is a comprehensive but easy to follow checklist to make sure that you're ready for business. So let's get into more detail. Why go through the hassle of reform? So why have the EU done this? Well, currently, imports in the EU valued up to 22 euro were exempt from VAT. As no such exemption existed for EU business shipping within the EU, it put EU business into a competitive disadvantage. And removing these exceptions for imports has therefore leveled the playing field. The VAT was also reformed because they wanted to simplify, speed up VAT compliance for e-commerce business by removing the need to VAT register in multiple countries. And by the latest estimate, the EU loses out on 50 billion euro a year from cross-border VAT fraud. The new changes will make VAT payments easier to track and to reconcile. So you pay VAT. The change only covers shipments below 150 euro, exception France. Online marketplaces can intermediate or can facilitate the VAT compliance for goods below 150, and the ISSS aims to simplify selling in the EU from a distance. Gifts, sample, excise goods, provisions and restrictions, they are all excluded from the ISSS and the special arrangement that we saw before. So let's start talking about gifts. Gifts are exempt from taxes if they are sent from outside the EU in the following circumstances. Imported items qualify as gifts if they are from an occasional nature, meaning it is not a regular standard shipment. This is really designed for things that are actual gifts for birthdays, anniversaries, etc. If it contains goods exclusively for the personal use of the consignee or their family, which do not by their nature or quantity reflect any commercial intent, if they are sent to the consignee free of any payment, and if the value of the good is not more than 45 euro. I thought a visual representation of a few examples would be helpful. I'll explain each of the examples portrayed on the slide. First, we assume that all of these examples qualify as gifts regarding their non-commercial value and occasional-based frequency. A 30 euro gift qualifies for no import duty, no VAT. It's under the 45 threshold. Second, a 50 euro gift is over the threshold and therefore would require VAT to be paid. The third example gets a little tricky. If a single shipment has two gifts, each 25 euro in value, then the value is considered to be 50 euro and would be subject to VAT. One very important item are acceptable descriptions. One of the most common causes of international shipment delays is related to issues clearing customs due to bad descriptions. General descriptions like phone, clothes, gifts, or appliances frequently lead to issues and are not acceptable. All shipments are encouraged to use what is referred to as plain language descriptions that are detailed enough for customs to quickly and easily understand what a shipment contains. Here's a few examples. To expand on the importance of proper goods descriptions, you see here a shipment that's labeled as containing a computer. As we learned on the last slide, this is not an exactly plain, precise language. It would be much more accurate to include a description like 13-inch 2019 MacBook Pro, 1 terabyte. And this example clearly shows an unrealistic value compared to the goods description. Certainly, an electric golf trolley is worth more than 1 euro. This would raise a red flag for customs as it's either a typo or a fraudulent claim. However, if it's accurate, I know exactly what my dad will be getting for his birthday this year. So on this slide, you'll find some reference material. Here's 6 resources to keep handy. And perhaps the most important source, not listed on this slide, is the UPS customer support team that you work with. We are here to help you, and your business is to be successful as possible. So please reach out with any questions you have. Finally, I wanted to end with this checklist, and I really encourage you to save this slide, work through it. If you do that, you'll position yourself for success, and worst case scenario, you'll be able to pinpoint the help you need from somebody at UPS. So identify which areas of your business are impacted by the new EU VAT rules. Systems and master data updates are likely to be needed to identify and apply the appropriate VAT rates in multiple jurisdictions. Register for the ISSS platform if you want to use a single registration to pay VAT throughout the EU for B2C shipments up to 150 euro. Appoint an intermediary to handle tax compliance on your behalf in the EU if you register for ISSS and don't have an EU-based establishment. Review and potentially cancel existing foreign EU VAT registration if you wish to replace these with a single ISSS registration. And if you choose not to register for the ISSS, ensure you have a valid UPS account to charge import fees to. You may also consider the free domicile billing option, where the import fees are billed to a valid UPS account instead of being billed to the consignor. Contact marketplaces that you sell through to understand who is responsible for VAT, accounting for your B2C shipments up to €150. Maintain current system updates if you're using UPS WorldShip or API or head-to-head as host-to-host as your shipping system. Ensure that the information stated on your shipment waybill and invoice is adequately detailed, includes your ISSS number if needed, and has the harmonized customs commodity code of your goods. And inform the consignees about potential import fees if the duties and taxes are to be billed to the receiver. And that brings me to the end of my presentation. I'm gonna stop the sharing.
Thank you, Mr. Walter, for a very nice presentation, insightful, with a lot of examples and checklists. I think very clear. But we also have some questions. I think we have about 9-10 minutes more, so I will forward you the questions. First one: do we need to pay any additional charge or commission to the intermediary?
Yes, you will have to pay charge to the intermediary. I do not have the tariffs, but of course that intermediary is going to file, he's going to register for you, and he's going to file tax statements to that member state. So he will want to be compensated for that.
Right. Another question: what's the rule if a gift shipped directly from an e-com site like Amazon to a friend or a family as a gift? What is the rule?
Yeah, the rule is that the same requirements that I showed into the presentation that they prevail. So you would have to prove that it's really a non-commercial transaction, that the value is below €45, that's occasional. So if that's done, there would be not an issue.
Right, thank you. And next question: samples value less than €30 liable for VAT and import duty?
Yeah, thank you. And if I can just continue on my previous answer, of course, if you want to put gifts through Amazon, it is, I would recommend also to take it up with Amazon to make sure that they do not have internal rules that differ from the customs rules. But that's something that Amazon needs to answer, and I cannot answer. Now, as far as your question on samples, they are excluded from VAT and import duty. I did not go into much detail, but customs has very specific rules on samples, so it's a very good question. It really needs to be proven that's in a sample. So a sample is something by nature, I would say, that you send to promote your products to customers so that he can judge if the sample is what he needs. That means that the sample, in most of the cases, cannot be used. And I give you the example of shoes. You can send a pair of shoes, but most customs authorities are going to require that you make these shoes unfit, so that you mutilate it, so that it's not a commercial product anymore.
Right. Another question. maybe some are repeated also, maybe you have given some part of the answer. When it comes to taxable shipment value, is it only for goods value or total shipment value, including the shipping costs?
We need to make a difference between the classification of the shipment for ISS. There, it is the intrinsic value. But when it comes to submitting the shipment to customs, you pay VAT, and if more than 150 euro, duties also on the shipment value plus the transportation cost.
Right. Then another question, what if there is no intermediary in EU for B2C shipments to register in IOSS, the platform? What will happen?
I would recommend to contact UPS because we work with a company that provides that service.
Then do we have to pay for IOSS registration?
If you register yourself, it will be free of charge. If you go through an intermediary, as we discussed before, it will be there will be a cost related to that.
So what about if we send medicine like essential oil to EU? It's a specific product specific question.
Yeah, well, here nothing changes. I mean, what changed are the VAT rules. I mean, if these products are not subject to prohibitions or restrictions, if they are not subject to a license or another authorization, the same rules applied that I explained throughout the webinar.
Another question, if samples are mutilated, does that exempted the VAT process, even if the quantity or value is exceeded 150 euros?
The answer is yes, provided, of course, that the value is a realistic value. Yes, and I would. It depends a bit on the country where you import, because every customs authority has its own requirements. But the basic concept is you may have to make sure that the sample cannot be used for commercial purposes.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Walter. You have answered all the questions. So we have come to the end of today's session. It is almost 3 o'clock. So it's my duty to thank all the resource person and all the other supporting people for making this a reality. So first of all, I would like to thank Mr. Walter and Moen, Director, Custom Brokerage, UPS Europe, for your valuable presentation, valuable contribution to have this session a reality. It's a very resourceful. You have made answered the remaining questions as well. Thank you for your time and expertise. And also, I would like to thank UPS other officials who managed to get our wonderful resource person for this session. I would like to thank Mr. Rashid Fergat and also Managing Director, Middle East and Indian Subcontinent of UPS, and also Miss Christina Stoller, Vice President, Public Affairs for Indian Subcontinent, Middle East and Africa. So thank you very much. And also I would like to thank our EDB officials who made this, organized this event from EDB, Ms. Yashika Malwatta, Assistant Director Market Development, and also our wonderful IT team always supporting us to have the technical things doing. So I thank all of you, and also last but not least, our participants always very active and coming forward to have the questions. And we hope this is a useful presentation, a useful webinar for you. Hope through this we can have some more e-commerce to EU region. With that, I will end this presentation. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.